welcome back to a new episode of Review the Nerds. Thanks for coming back. I'm Vincent.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're really excited for what movie we're reviewing today. Came out, late
1998.
98, so yeah, a while back. It's a movie that we decided we want to go through because, much like we said about Sky High, this one especially, no one ever seems to talk about it, and it's a really good film. Mike, what is it?
We are reviewing Dark City, yes.
Yes.
Dark City.
Yeah, for those of you who never heard of the movie Dark City, like I said, it came out in 1998, about a year before The Matrix, to give you an idea. And it's just a really cool, like, gothic noir film that me and Mike both just happened to like. I didn't even know he liked it. Apparently, it's you said one of your favorites?
Oh, yeah, I saw it when it first came out.
It was a limited release film, so if you guys don't remember it back then, don't worry about it. We're going to go over it right now. Mike, what information we got for him?
Okay, well, the reason why I saw it when it first came out is that I was a big fan of the guy who directed this film. It was written and directed by Alex Proyas. For all you Crow fans out there, he was the director of the 1993 The Crow, starring Brandon Lee. We, of course, know that film ended in tragedy, the death of Brandon Lee. But I was a big fan of his visual style. He had this really gothic, kind of nightmare-like quality to it, kind of like what Tim Burton does, but even more crazy. This was also co-written by David S. Goyer, who all nerds know. He's the guy who worked with Chris Nolan on the Batman franchise. Also, he is kind of the front-runner for the Blade franchise, and even directed the third one, which is not well remembered. Goyer was contacted by Proyas because he had worked on The Crow 2, City of Angels, which, by the way, nowhere near as good as the original. But he was contacted with that in mind, but also, I guess Proyas read his treatment for the Blade movie. And Proyas was impressed with Goyer's work in that script, and he contacted him and brought him on board. For those of you that are not familiar with The Crow, other Alex Proyas movies are I, Robot. It gets worse as it goes along. And then it goes down another step with Knowing. I don't know how many people know that movie.
Knowing? He did Knowing?
Yes, he did.
Oh.
And he's not done too much that is notable since. I think that was kind of his big mistake that kind of cost him. Alex Proyas, his intent with this movie was to make a murky, nightmarish, German expressionist film noir film, something that was very dreamlike. It's very interesting how he put the movie together. I mean,
yeah, it really is a reality-bending kind of film.
And, in a lot of ways, you could make some arguments that it kind of beat The Matrix to this kind of style. I mean, there's certainly a lot of parallels with The Matrix. I know you can't necessarily say The Matrix copied this because it only came out 1 year later, and you mentioned the Wachowski brothers probably didn't have the time to really
there's no way they saw that movie, wrote their own version of a script, and even in Hollywood, shit takes time.
It's a coincidence. But even strangely, though, as a coincidence, you know that many of the sets for Dark City, after they wrapped, was sold off to The Matrix to use? The rooftop sets were sold off to The Matrix.
Are you kidding me, man?
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. We have Richard O'Brien, who plays Mr. Hand. One could argue, basically Agent Smith from The Matrix. Very, very kind of similar.
Was Agent Smith Mr. Hand?
There's definitely parallels between Agent Smith, Mr. Hand, and also the agents in The Matrix with the strangers in this film. That's what Mr. Hand is. He's a member of the stranger race who's assigned to hunt down our hero. And really interesting story behind this guy's casting. The actor, Richard O'Brien, is the writer of the cult musical The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yes, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Huh?
Man, he must have loved this character then. This kind of movie fit right into his thing.
Yeah, Alex Proyas, he based The Strangers on O'Brien's work. He went over, I think, to watch one of the performances, and he's like, this role is yours if you want it. Richard O'Brien, I think, does a good job in the film.
Oh yeah, he's very creepy villain. So the movie starts out with some narration telling us that there's a group of beyond ancient alien race that during the course of the movie will be referred to as the Strangers. They have highly advanced abilities and technology to match it. Fortunately, their race is dying out because they've lost something in them, some kind of uniqueness that allows their race to continue. They discover humanity and realize that humans may have what they're looking for, but they don't quite understand what it is yet. So they get a group of humans together, and things get weird after that point. We open to a shot in a dark bathroom where a man is waking up. He's very disoriented, doesn't know where he is. He puts some clothes on, and then he finds a dead body, a female dead body, horribly mutilated and with like spiral cuts in it, and he starts freaking out. He gets a phone call from somebody telling him to get the hell out of there. That somebody being Dr. Schreiber, played by Kiefer Sutherland. Our main character, he moves on out into the street, downstairs to the lobby of the hotel room, talks to the manager of the hotel, who tells him he's been there for 3 weeks, and he's just trying to gather more clues because he seems to have no idea who the hell he is. Complete amnesia. The movie goes on, and we get to introduce to the detective played by John Hurt. He's assigned to this now murder case, and he finds it very weird and interesting. We keep moving on even more forward. We get introduced to Emma, played by Jennifer Connelly. She is our main character's wife, and eventually he's able... Supposedly, yes.
I was a huge fan of hers at that point in time from the Labyrinth movie.
Labyrinth, classic 80s movie.
Yeah, David Bowie, crotch shots, and all that.
I was more distracted by all the glitter on all the sets. If you guys ever go back and watch Labyrinth, there's freaking glitter everywhere. I just feel like when they weren't rolling, Bowie just grabbed a bag of glitter and just went off on the place. So he's able to finally track her down and ask and find out who the hell he is. Apparently his name is John Murdoch. She explains to him that 3 weeks ago she admitted to him that she had an affair, and he got angry and left. And apparently for the past 3 weeks he's been out. And unfortunately he may believe that he is murdering these women, because we find out there's been a spree of murders going on, all of them being women, all being hookers. So the events go on, and John finds that he's being run down by these strange, pale-faced, dressed in all-black men that carry around knives and make weird clicking sounds that are very odd.
Creepy child, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also find out that Dr. Schreiber apparently is working for whoever these individuals are, and apparently he does not like it as he continues to try to contact John and get a hold of him. Certain mysteries start popping up, like some city or place or town called Shell Beach keeps coming up. John finds out about this and figures that maybe where he's from. He keeps trying to get there. He keeps asking people. He asks a taxi driver. He asks a guy on a subway. He asks all these people, like, where is Shell Beach? And they all think they know, but when they try to describe how to get there, whether it be by road, bridge, boat, plane, whatever, none of them can seem to remember how to get there. Meanwhile, our detective keeps looking for more clues. He meets Emma and talks to her and explains to him that, your husband is like, a suspect in a murder case. And then he has a former partner of his who apparently has gone crazy. He goes to take a visit to him, and this partner tells him mostly like, nothing's real, it's all a big joke, nothing is real, it exists, she's not really my wife, you're not really my partner, blah, blah, blah. So he just getting even crazier and crazier. The movie goes on, John keeps getting pursued by these people, but a real weird thing happening. Every night, apparently midnight or noon, everything in the city stops. People just suddenly fall asleep. Cars stop right where they are in the street. Machines shut down. And all of a sudden, buildings change. Streets disappear. New streets appear. Buildings are warping, twisting. The entire city just morphs in a matter of minutes. And John is having trouble figuring out what's going on. But at the same time, John is also realizing he has some kind of special ability that Dr. Schreiber refers to as tuning, which apparently is ability of the strangers, the aliens. But the problem is only they're supposed to have that ability. Humans don't. So they realize that John may be this mystery that they've been looking for in humanity. They may have finally found a person that can reveal to them what they need. The movie goes on. John eventually teams up with the detective, despite the fact the detective is still suspicious of him. But John asks him questions like, do you know how to get to Shell Beach? And a big one that you may not realize at first, but John's been running around for a day and a half, and yet no daylight, no afternoon, no nothing. It's just been nighttime the whole time.
It's like no one really bothers to notice this. He even says to his uncle, he's like, do you ever notice that it's always dark here? He's like, what are you trying to say, Johnny? It's like, what do you think he's trying to say? There's no fucking sun!
Yeah. But anyway, time moves on. John and the detective meet up and they grab Dr. Schreiber and force him to show him where Shell Beach is. That's the point where Dr. Schreiber explains to him explain the purpose of the aliens, that they think that somewhere in our memories is where humanity's greatest uniqueness lies, because every night at midnight when everything shuts down, they rearrange buildings and they have Dr. Schreiber, who is a psychiatrist, rearrange people's memories. Like one day, you could be like some bum who, works in a crummy job, and then boom, after midnight when they switch everything around, all of a sudden you're a millionaire and you're in charge of hundreds of people, and you fire people left and right. They keep rearranging the memories to see if what is it about humanity by changing people's lives and their personalities, and then like the whole world each night they change a few people each night, and they're just stunned, and they ask him, okay, well, who are we really? And he's like, I don't know. He tells them like these strangers, they even erased my memories. I know what's going on, but I don't even know where I came from.
Even more fucked up though, they forced him to erase his own memories.
Yeah. And the way they do it is by planting a syringe right through your forehead and planting this liquid memory stuff right into your brain.
Which there's some question over the science of that, but we'll accept it. It's magic.
It's super science.
Super science.
Anyway, so Dr. Schreiber finally takes him to Shell Beach, which unfortunately, just like everything else, is not even real. There is no Shell Beach. It's just a big poster on a wall. John and the detective aren't able to accept this horrific reality and just start busting through the wall. And John uses his tuning ability that he's gained somehow to burst open this huge hole in the wall. And that's when we discover the horrifying truth of this world that they live in, is that the city is not even on Earth. It's actually some giant floating colony out in space. And that's why they never see the sun, because the city is always shifted so the sun is to its back. So that's why the sun never comes out. And the reason why they don't want the sun is because apparently the strangers have a weakness to sunlight and also to water. That comes into play a little later.
We don't like the moisture,
yes. The stranger attack squad, as we could call them, they show up. Mr. Hand, he's coming at them. And there's a struggle between the detective and one of the other strangers.
Well, the detective goes badass, man. I mean, even though in the end it was probably a dumb move.
They struggle. Unfortunately, they fall through the hole and out into outer space, past the oxygen or atmospheric barrier that surrounds the city.
It's like a force field.
Yeah. So they take John back to their underground lair, which is just basically right underneath the city, and they are going to link his mind to the mind of the strangers, which there are hundreds of them under the city. And before he has a chance, Dr. Schreiber takes a special syringe that he prepared and injects John with a lifetime of memories on how to control the tuning power. And thus begins a psychic battle between John Murdoch and Mr. Book. And it is really cool, like them blasting psychic energy out of their heads. The whole area gets ripped up, torn out, spikes are shooting out of the ground, the ground's getting ripped up, they're both knocking each other on their psychic asses, it's great. And then they have a huge psychic, beam strike, and it's like, God, it's like in Dragon Ball Z when they have the two beams and they come at each other, who's got the stronger one, and it just releases this huge explosion that just knocks all the either kills strangers or knocks them out of the atmosphere into the depths of space.
I love it when the Mr. Sleep, the dumb little kid, was like,
yeah, it's kind of weird.
He got sucked out in space.
It's like when Mini-Me got sucked out in
oh, that's Shag.
Oh, what? Oh, now you want to defend the kid's child.
Not
anyway,
the kid, but
So they have this huge psychic battle. They go flying up into the air. They come at each other. Mr. Book tries to psychically throw a dagger at John. John barely stops it, and they have to throw it back at Book and into a water tower. The water destroys Mr. Book and his life force, and he goes out. John now has a choice to make. Unfortunately, Anna's memories have been altered, so she's... Emma. Emma's memories
Who's
altered.
Now is Anna?
Now is Anna. And Dr. Schreiber asks, well, John, what are you going to do? And he's like, well, I can control everything now. So he uses his powers to manipulate the city to create a actual Shell Beach, and he shifts the entire city so sunlight may come down. And he's able to reunite with Jennifer Connelly, and then they kind of... Well, they don't walk off into the sunset. They walk off down the beach. So aside from the sunset, that's a nice little moment and a very cool film. So, Mike, what do you got, man?
You called her Jennifer Connelly. Yeah, well, one thing I guess to say, because it was such a huge thing throughout the film, and especially in the finale, it just kicks into full gear. The music. The music in this movie is great. It really lends to it, and I actually think the music is pretty much non-stop in the movie. I think there's very few moments where there's no music playing. It seems very consistently playing.
Probably top our main character, Rufus Sewell, who plays John Murdoch. I thought he was really cool, and playing the confusion and frenzy that can come from someone who wakes up and they have no idea what's going on, let alone who they are. I think he played very well, but he's still, he's vulnerable. He plays a vulnerable thing very well. And, he's a little hectic, but he's trying to put the pieces of this puzzle together. At the same time, this relationship he has with Jennifer Connelly, which he doesn't even know, but they seem to have this connection together. That's something that really gets played up in the film, despite the fact that their memories have been switched around dozens of times, and they don't know when they really didn't meet. Him and Jennifer Connelly have this connection.
Well, one thing that's weird is I think that they literally only meet 3 times in the entire movie before he decides he loves her. Like they only have three moments together, and they're very brief. So wow, man, you fall pretty fast. I mean, maybe it was like you know how he had some of the memories already implanted. Maybe there is some echoes of the love that he was supposed to feel for her that were in his mind.
Yeah.
Maybe she starts playing like a certain type of role starting in this movie, like this kind of soulful, kind of understanding someone's kind of condition or something they're going through. Like she plays a similar character in A Beautiful Mind, in that she's dealing with a husband who has schizophrenia. And she plays this very understanding, soulful kind of wife figure to him. She also did a movie called Creation. She played Darwin's wife in that, again, playing the soulful, understanding wife who's kind of understanding what her husband's going through.
That's good at it.
Yeah, but she's an excellent actress. She just gets better and better. I like Rufus Sewell as well. It's weird because he has one eye that's bigger than the other, and somehow that seemed to fit with the kind of manic confusion.
I really didn't notice that as much as you.
Well, also Kiefer Sutherland, but his was prosthetics. Like Kiefer Sutherland had a prosthetic over his one eye that made it a little smaller than the other because apparently the strangers beat the shit out of him before they
the swelling never went down, or it's like a scar tissue.
Another actor that I have a little bit of a fanboy thing for because
24 man,
24 Jack Bauer. God damn it! Tell me where they are. Right now, or I'll waterboard you, or stick this wet towel down your throat and pull out your insides. He threatened to do it to this guy in the first season. He got a wet towel. He says, you know, he's like, if you don't think I could jam this down your throat, think again. You know, but yeah, no, he's
a guy can intimidate you with a towel.
I think it's interesting that you know how Kiefer Sutherland's character goes from being this really difficult to trust kind of shadowy character, and you know you don't trust him the whole movie, but it turns out that his intentions all along have been the best of intentions, and that you could argue, is even the biggest hero in the movie because if he did not inject those that training into John's mind, everyone would have died. He couldn't take on these things, and he was waiting for somebody who could, and it's because of him that John becomes who he becomes.
Because the whole time he's so afraid of these strangers, because remember, they have godlike powers. Their psychic abilities are beyond human understanding at this point. So it's really, it seems like at first he's just going wherever who he's most afraid of at the time, like he's just siding with whoever, like, oh, okay, you're the one who might kill me right now, so I'm just going to do whatever you tell me at this point.
I don't like this. Really fast. Don't hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very. I mean, but he's really cool because you understand, like, he's this guy. What the strangers did to him. What did they? I mean, they made him give himself amnesia, short of losing his, psychiatric or psychological skills. And you do feel bad for him because you know every human being in this movie is a victim in one way or another to these aliens that have just decided to be these puppet masters. So, I mean, you feel bad for him, but at the same time, you don't trust him, because you realize he is working for the antagonists.
Yeah, I just think it would have been funny if, like, out of nowhere, like, Jack Bauer, like, quantum leaped into this character's body. He looks around these guys, he's like, where's a wet towel? Because he could take on...
I don't have a wet towel, but this is Mr. Towel over here.
But yeah,
Mr. Towel.
Jack Bauer would have taken down all those motherfuckers, like he always does. He's very, very paranoid and
weird,
nervous.
Anxious and stuff like that. Yeah, but he has damn good reasons,
and,
unfortunately, for his character.
Another interesting thing is that William Hurt was originally asked to play Dr. Schriever. He was originally conceived to be the person to play the Doctor. I'm not sure how that worked out. I don't know if William Hurt was like, I'd rather play a detective, or if Proyas, after the audition, went, I think you'd be better as a detective. One way or another, they got switched around. I think for the best, because I think Kiefer Sutherland does a really good job in his role, and I really like William Hurt as a detective. Another interesting thing is that when this movie was first being written, originally the main character was going to be the detective. It was going to be about the detective on this case that led to this discovery, which actually would have been kind of an interesting way to go, but I guess it would have been more conventional, kind of.
True, yeah.
To go that way. I'd say actually my favorite in this movie was William Hurt. He's always good. The movie starts off with Rufus Sewell immediately knowing something's wrong. Whereas William Hurt, we're following it with him. You know, he's kind of the one that doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't really believe anything is wrong with this world. He and Rufus Sewell's characters combined are a way into the movie. He's got that everyman quality where you can relate to him. I was really bummed when they killed him off. I mean, at least he went out guns blazing.
Yeah, no, he fired every round off that he had, and even wrestled around with a really tall stranger guy. That dude creepy motherfucker.
Mr. Somebody. It's always Mr. Somebody.
Yeah, all the strangers' names are all like a noun. Mr. Book, Mr. Quick, Mr. Hand, Mr. Banana.
Poor Mr. Quick. There's influences even going as far back as Metropolis. I saw they tried to use practical as often as they could. There's some
a lot of
CGI.
model making of the buildings in the city. Very cool. I always love that. I always love when they use the models.
Alex Proyas was influenced watching set people move around the set pieces for The Crow. And he was watching how they were changing the landscape and all this stuff. And he actually first got the inception for that idea on the Crow set because of that. You know, that's why the strangers can manipulate the buildings to move and shift and change. They combined it with visual effects. Now, this was, of course, when visual effects were much more primitive. And also, they were operating on a budget that was really small. They only had like a budget of $30 million. And I will say, they put every little dollar of that on screen.
Once again, $30 million budget. It's still the 90s. During the 90s, there was a lot of experimentation with CGI and like visual effects like that. Which is why, you know, it's so important. It was so good. Like, you know, practical effects, I think, were really at their top in the 90s. I mean... And that's the great thing about practical effects. Can I tell that some of the buildings are models? Yes. But at the same time, I like that. Because for me, that adds that realness. Because even though I know it's not a real building, I know it's still a physical object that I can touch it. For me, that's what makes practical effects so good. And don't get me wrong, still love the CGI. There are plenty of movies that would not have been possible and would not have been as grand and incredible without CGI. I mean, all modern superhero movies without CGI, I mean, they wouldn't have been able to work as well as they do, no matter how well written the story was.
The actual aliens, they're actually these like crazy like little tentacle...
yeah, they got like circular teeth thing going on.
Yeah, right in the center. It's like if you have a hand, right in the center there's teeth.
Yeah, like this mutant eel thing. That
and they glow, like, they have like an energy glow.
Yeah, them. Like the bioluminescence thing going on.
Yeah, they looked a little cartoony. I mean, just a little bit.
Yeah, but the thing about the strangers is that they look like these bald-headed, pale, like humans. But the strangers, like, they're actually these, like, weird, glowing creature things, but they use the bodies of dead humans as their, like, vessel. They use it as, like, you know, like a human car or something like that. And when they die, their actual creature comes out, and it's a little weird looking. I mean, once again, it's like late 90s CGI, low budget. It wasn't bad. It's just, like, you could tell, especially when I was, like, looking at, like, the sharp teeth, and the teeth just looked weird and wrong.
Overall, the visual effects of this movie, I think, work. There's a lot of cool atmosphere. There's a lot of cool, like the moment where William Hurt gets sucked out into outer space, and we have this huge tracking back shot where we see that the city is in space. It was really cool. It definitely did give you that sense of awe, kind of like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah. I also like how the outside of the city, like the outside wall, is just like, they look like just like a bunch of buildings like been glued together side by side, like this is the extra parts to the city or something. And then, but you see the underneath, and you see like the structure underneath the city where the strangers live, and it's like this weird orb, metal twisted kind of thing to it. They even have in the strangers, they have this, when they stop the city at midnight, they have this giant clock that comes out of this big metal face, and it's so dark and creepy and cool looking. And I think that's just really what makes it, because it has this old school, like I know I keep saying it has this old school noir thing, but it's like modern 90s creepy, dark, gritty thing going on with it.
The visuals look beautiful, and that goes all around. I mean, the production design, I thought the sets were fantastic. The lighting was fantastic. The cinematography was great. I mean, there's some really beautiful shots in this movie. There's that one shot in the beginning where he's laying in the tub, and the light is like kind of swinging back and forth over the set. That's awesome. I love it when he scoops up the fish, and there's a camera underneath the water of the tub, and you see him release the fish into the camera. Yeah. There's some beautiful stuff in this movie.
Yeah, it keeps the angles coming at you. Just when you think like you're going to watch it from this angle, walking down the street, or from this angle, it's a very quick-paced film. They really don't stay on one scene for very long, one area, or like it just keeps moving. John keeps finding more clues. The detective keeps learning more about the situation, trying to figure out what's going on. Jennifer Connelly keeps trying to find John, and gets through her guilt because she at first blames herself what's going on because she cheated on him.
That didn't even happen anyway, so he doesn't give a shit about that.
Yeah, because apparently it really didn't happen. It's just some fake memory.
The editing in this movie is very unique. Because Alex Proyas, he wanted this whole movie to be disorientating for the audience. He wants you to be in the shoes of John Murdoch and to kind of feel disorientated along with him. And one of the ways they accomplished this is in the editing process, they would try to cut the film averagely every 2 to 3 seconds. And now you have a few shots in this movie that go on longer than that. Usually it's tracking shots or reveal shots that go on for about 10 seconds sometimes. And it also gives it like a dreamlike quality. Like sometimes you feel like you're going from one place to another and you don't really understand how they got to that place.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a dream. Whenever you're dreaming, sometimes you'll end up in a location, and inside your dream you'll be like, wait a minute, how did I get here? You know, it's kind of like that. There's a scene like that, actually, that disorientated us a little bit, where Jennifer Connelly is suddenly at Melissa George's apartment, and we're like, whoa, how'd she get there?
Yeah, we totally forgot that John was telling her that he went to some chick's place before, so, you know, like, it did work.
Spirals and ticking clocks. Thematically, it moves like a spiral. You're spiraling into madness, but pacing-wise, it's like you can feel like it constantly moving forward like a clock. And also how a clock goes in a total circle. There's circles in this movie, people are going, and so it's very interestingly constructed. And it's very unique. There's no other movie I can think of that's constructed quite like this.
Yeah.
It's so weird that such an auteur director here goes on to do Knowing. I don't know how that happens.
Nick Cage was big at the time, okay? We always thought it was going to work. All right. And what's really cool is, like, we've been making a lot of parallels to The Matrix. Yeah. But one of the parallels that is different is that with Mr. Hand, who is what you would call the Agent Smith equivalent for this film, Mr. Hand, in order to track down John, because him and his group, they're trying to find John all over the city, which is kind of like a loophole. They have so much control over the city, but they can't find one guy in the entire town. That's kind of but, you know, it's whatever. But I said, like, in order to, like, understand John more, he has Dr. Schreiber copy the memories he was supposed to implant into the new memories he was supposed to implant into John, and has him implant to him. And apparently the strangers were like, no, we shouldn't do that. Every time we've tried that before, it always fails. And he becomes, like, this psycho murderer, this hooker killer that John was supposed to be programmed to be in this section of the reality that they were building. Though,
if you count the Matrix sequels, there is a small little parallel in that at the end of the first Matrix film, when Neo jumps into Agent Smith and blows him up, we find out in the sequels that he actually helped give Smith more power, because Smith, I guess, the coding latched on to some of Neo's coding, and
I guess we could make that parallel, but to me it's different because it's a personality issue. Smith didn't take on any of Neo's personality characteristics. Me. Me too. yeah, we're buddies. Anyway, it's a really good, and like I said, it's a shame that not a lot of people, I never hear anyone talk about it. And it's a really cool, dark sci-fi film. I like, you know, it really plays the notion, like, are you in control? You're like, you know, you ever get that feeling, am I really in control of my life? Am I can make an own decision, or am I letting other people make decisions
what's interesting is that a movie came out just a year later.
Yeah.
A little movie called The Matrix.
Yeah.
That everyone asking, everyone's like, dude, do you think this is The Matrix? It's like, Dark City did this a year ago.
Yeah.
But they didn't get any credit for it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that's another, like, really, like, of all the 90s kids, I'm sure you remember the movie Babe, that movie about the pig. There was another movie about a talking pig that came out a whole year before that, and no one ever talks about that one. I always find that funny when you have a film that everybody remembers, but meanwhile there was a film that came out like a year or two before that was the exact same effing plot. It's always weird like that.
At least they were spaced out before. Now they release them the same freaking year. Like White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah, or Paul Blart Mall Cop and Protect and Serve. It plays up more and more the fact that Hollywood's running out of ideas. I don't know.
Well, this one I think we can say was a pretty original film.
Yeah, no, this is so unique and original.
I mean, it definitely borrows elements from different things, but it finds its own little, you know, spin on it, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know how big it is, but I know there's people that are passionate about it. The fans of it are passionate.
Yeah, I mean, I've met some people every once in a while who like this movie. I've met it. And if any of you guys are Dark City fans that are watching this now, before we've even brought this up, hey, leave some comments. Tell us what you think of the movie. We're fucking interested because, once again, we don't get to talk to other Dark City fans that often. So, let us know.
Worldwide, it only made back about $30 million, so they just made back their budget.
Damn, I always hate that when good movies don't make their money back. It's so disappointing.
There's a theologist named Gerard Laughlin who was, I guess, a fan of the movie, and he interprets Dark City as a retelling of of Plato's allegory of the cave. And, there's some people that really take this movie that seriously, where they break it down and they find all these little symbolic philosophical things within the context of the film. One guy who's a huge fan of this movie was a respected critic named Roger Ebert. And
nice.
He says, a film so original and exciting, it stirred my imagination like Metropolis in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Roger Ebert called the movie the best film of 1998.
You hear that, people? Roger Ebert, one of the most famous film critics of all time, said best film of 1998. If the best film of 1998, that means the best film of that one of the best films of that entire decade. So go check it out, because if Roger Ebert says it, you take heed, all right? You take heed.
There are times I disagree with Roger Ebert, but...
He's not perfect, but still.
But, I don't know if it was the best film in 1998. I mean, there's probably other good movies that year, but it's still... Yeah. It was probably the most imaginative film in 1998. I mean, I can't imagine another movie coming out that year that was as huge with imagination is this movie.
No, a lot of this is one of those movies that you really had. I'm sure they spent a lot of time when they were writing the script thinking it out, because it's one of those like movies that even if when you're writing it, it probably could confuse you if you're not keeping track of it. I'm sure they probably like must have proofread the script like 6 times or something just to make sure they didn't get any major loopholes out of there.
Unfortunately, there were some critics that did not like it. I don't have any things actually noted, but I was reading through some of the negative comments, and there were people that were saying they thought it was convoluted, they thought it was messy, sloppy storytelling, and just too disorganized and all over the place. Some people didn't like the disorientated feeling. And
totally. I understand I confuse people. I mean, there's been plenty of big movies that can be confusing. Seriously, Inception. Everybody remember Inception? Okay, let me tell you something. When we had that movie at my movie theater, I remember every time that movie let out, everybody come out of that theater like seriously like 90% of people, especially people, elderly people, they kept coming out. They would come out of the theater like, I don't know what happened, but I liked it. Like they would come.
Well, I mean, the thing is that Chris Nolan tried to add rules to dreams.
Yeah.
And as you know, dreams don't have rules. That's the whole point of dreams. So that's what was confusing. Is like, dude, why is there rule after rule after rule after rule in a landscape of subconsciousness that doesn't have rules? Not saying I don't like that movie. I like Inception, but I do think I will say I do agree it's a little convoluted.
We can understand why some people get confused by this film because it is a part detective film. You got to pay attention, and like I said, because of the fast pacing, you really need to pay attention. But if you stay with it, you'll get it. But the other thing about major difference between Inception is where in Inception you are in the world of a dream. In Dark City, you are in a world that makes you feel like you're in a dreamlike state, but it's still grounded in the reality of that universe. You are physically present, and and it can be confusing because even at the end of the movie, we still don't get all the answers.
Well, believe it or not, Alex Proyas wanted to take it even further. Like he wanted to be even less completely clear. That whole opening narration by Kiefer Sutherland, that was something that New Line Cinema forced him to add in. Like, they felt the movie was too confusing, and they needed an opening narration to get the audiences to kind of understand where they are. And Alex Proyas fought to not have that, but they basically asked him to do it. There's a director's cut of this film on the Blu-ray release. I recommend everyone check that out. I don't know what it's like, but I'm going to bet you, if it's a director's cut, it probably doesn't have that opening narration. Your modern general audiences, they want answers, but I think it's really fascinating when you leave a lot of holes like that, because then you start filling them in. Like, for instance, where'd they get these people? What time period? Because like the one stranger, he says that the city was made out of several different time periods from Earth. Oh, and they never say Earth in the movie. That's the thing, that no one remembers they're from Earth.
They even ask like, where are we from? Like, they don't say where on Earth did you snatch us from. They didn't say like what country. They just said where we are from. Period. So they may not. The word Earth may be completely foreign to them. That's how much of their memories were erased.
There's so many different backstories you can imagine for this movie. What if they got these people in the 40s or 50s? Also, we don't know if they captured them all at once or individually. Maybe all the alien abductions where people, disappear or vanish and stuff like that. Maybe that's where they go. Yeah. Like all these unsolved murder disappearance cases, maybe they're all being taken to this place. I mean, they never tell you those things, so you can start creating in your head all these different scenarios for how these people got there, where they came from.
Yeah.
And also, we don't even know how many generations they've been there.
Exactly. Because remember, all the strangers, and there's hundreds of them underneath the city, all their bodies are the bodies of dead humans that they're possessing. And with that many dead bodies, I don't know, maybe some of them could be disposed after a while, or maybe after a body wears out, they get a new one. And you just don't know how long they've been there. The character of John Murdoch, for all we know, maybe he has been in the city ever since he was a little boy.
Yeah,
when they have knowing. And
with Kiefer Sutherland, he does kind of give you the impression that he maybe had remembered where they came from. And that's why they made him erase it, because they made him erase everything that he was. So you kind of get the impression that he had an experience on Earth. But then again, like I said, they might be abducting them at different times. How do they keep all these people in line? Like, you see that there's occasionally people that start to figure it out, like the crazy partner, former partner of William Hurt's character.
They reveal every night at midnight when the city shuts down and people fall asleep, every once in a while there's somebody who stays awake. So this has happened before. The difference is John has a tuning ability. That's what makes him the unique one.
Well, even beyond that, though, I think there are people, like William Hurt's character, that just start to piece it together. It's like, yeah, there is no sun here. And the thing is that what you find out is that at night, they don't change everybody's memory. They only select, like, a group of people, because they can't go around to every single fucking person. So they maybe choose, like, a dozen people to change. And, but then you still have all these other people that are existing in this world with no sunlight.
Because it really is another major loophole. Like, nobody's noticed that nobody's seen the sun in weeks.
Yeah, no one
months,
notices
years.
no one notices the city changing.
Because they give them memories all the way back, like fake memories all the way back to their childhood, where like John remembers like running along the waves on the beach and on a bright sunny day. So he remembers the sun from back then, but when he really think about when's the last time I saw the sun recently, nobody can. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of the ignorance, is that because they have some memory of the sun at some point.
I'd be freaking out if I didn't see the sun in a day.
I'd probably just be like, how long was I fucking playing Skyrim for?
What happens now? I mean, we know that John Murdoch is now a god in this world. But what happens when John dies? Or, what happens if there's mechanical failures? Can he repair the ship?
Yeah. Why did he develop the ability to tune? They never explain that.
Yeah.
They just said, well, maybe he's evolved. I mean, I don't know what it is. It maybe just these people have been in the city long enough where they've been exposed to, like, the strange psychic energy and they just developed it.
Evolution is not something that happens in one generation. That happens over several generations. And Kiefer Sutherland's character at one point said that he evolved to adapt to what they were doing to them. That would happen. That'd be a process that would take several generations to happen.
Yeah,
so
it really gets you thinking, because they say at the beginning of the movie, during that narration, that they are, I think it was described there as old as time itself. That would make them like the oldest beings in the universe.
Yeah, strangers, yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're going to go extinct, I guess. Now that Rufus Sewell has control over this whole ship and this whole city, are they going to maybe try to find Earth? I don't get the impression they are. I get the impression that they're just going to stay here because they don't know how to get home anymore. But I mean, it calls into question, what happens when he dies? I mean, who's going to run the city then? Maybe he and Jennifer Connelly will poop out another mutated, evolved person.
Poop out? They're going to make hot, sweet loving on the Shell Beach. And make a tuner, baby.
Yeah, that's the only way I can see this continuing. But the thing is, if he is evolved, if he's actually evolved, that's the whole point, is that as an evolved creature, you pass down those traits to the next generation. That's called natural selection.
Exactly, and who knows? There might be someone else soon that develops tuning in the city.
There's so many possibilities to look at in this movie, and that's why I say it's better that they don't give you a lot of answers, because look at us imagining and talking about this. It leaves you talking.
Yeah, that's always good to have. I mean, I know some people don't get me wrong, I've seen movies where the ending is really ambiguous, and I was like, no, I want to know what's going on, tell me. But every once in a while, that's the cool thing. Like, you want to leave a little imagination. You want to leave some variables, some X factors to decide on yourself, because that's what we get to do. There's everything we just talked about could be legit. Any one of these scenarios. Hell, they could, I don't know, I mean, they could have, like, maybe a sequel where, like, one of the strangers survived and he's starting shit, and they crashed the city into Earth or something. I don't know.
Hollywood, do not make a sequel. Do not.
Not that you're going to, but yeah, leave this one alone.
Yeah, leave everything alone at this point. In fact,
we're going to do this a shout out right now. Hollywood, you keep remaking shit. Let me tell you something right now. You look at me, Hollywood. You fucking look at me in the eye. I swear to God, if you ever try to remake Back to the Future, I'll fucking slaughter you. I will destroy you. I will burn you to the ground.
Dude, this rate wouldn't surprise me. There's even rumors they're going to remake Taxi Driver. It's maybe not a movie for your general audiences. I mean, it's probably more of like, for the indie artsy,
and it's definitely not something you want to show your kids, because, I mean, it's got an R rating, because there is some nudity. And
Listen, George.
Yeah, yes, well. Okay. Anyway, but there's some nudity, there is some the violence can get nasty. I think the first murder victim that we see in the movie, her body is mutilated with, like, knife carvings and stuff like that.
Oh, and how about the scene where the buildings clash and the one stranger gets stuck? It was just, like, blood exploded out of the side. It was like a bug getting squashed.
Oh, yeah, it was nasty. It's like Gak exploding back from Nickelodeon. Remember
that
shit? Oh, yeah, and there's a few other scenes. One of the guys gets the top of his head chopped off, and there's splatter all over the place. I mean, there's not that much blood splattering. It's like, there's a few moments throughout the film, but they're, like, spread out. So it's not like every scene somebody's getting, like, cut or shot or something. But, it adds to it, and it's cool.
So, yeah, good movie. I'm, probably going to pass it on through natural selection to my kids someday, when they're not children, when they're old enough to appreciate it. I think this is a movie that will hopefully stand the test of time. I think it's a good film.
I think I pretty much said everything I needed to say. I mean, everyone did a good job. I think Rufus Sewell made a great main character. Kiefer Sutherland's Dr. Schreiber was really, like, weird and anxious and on edge all the time. I think he played it well. I mean, who would a guy who knows his horrible truths about reality and what he's done to his own, helped to do to his own people. The detective played by John Hurt. Yeah, he did a cool job too.
I liked him. Good.
I didn't like it as much as Mike here. I mean, John Hurt did a great job. I guess he did a great job.
Well, I guess I relate to because he played the everyman.
Yeah,
kind of.
Jennifer Connelly, she she
Beautiful.
Yes, very beautiful. Yes, she did well enough in this movie, and it just I don't know. It's once again, it was so unique and imaginative and creative and cool, and just go out and check it out, please, because it really deserves to get. I hope I start hearing. I hope this video gets a shitload of views so people start checking out this movie, because I want to see people start talking about it more. And maybe, who knows, we'll start seeing these guys go like sci-fi conventions, and we'll see Jennifer Connelly and Rufus Sewell on like a panel, people asking them questions. That'd be really cool.
I think if it was going to happen, it probably already would have. Yeah. Maybe in their 20th anniversary, or the 25th, maybe they'll get together for a con or something. Oh. I guess that was our review of Dark City, yes.
Go check it out, everybody. We'll see you next time on Review the Nerds.